Hello, if you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, dislike, just give me an opinion on it. I need a lot of those. So, Pelagos is a weird choice. It's almost but confirmed that he's gonna be the new Arbiter. And the thing is, why? It doesn't really make sense to pick Pelagos. Now, of course, the obvious assumptions that they've picked him only because, well, for trans representation ish motives would work. I mean, that's not an option we should neglect to take into consideration. It's not something we should look over because it might just well be because of that. But story wise, it just doesn't really make that much sense. Because if you haven't done the Bastion campaign of the Covenant, you probably just spent all the time with him in Bastion while you were leveling up. And after that, you just moved on and never really cared about it. Like, I remember I've had interactions more with the steward, the, well, more well spoken one, than I had with Pelagos. And I find that very weird that it's not really a character that people have more interactions with that's picked. It's Pelagos instead. And yeah, okay, I'm just gonna exclude the thing for trans representation at this point, for the moment being, because I want to look at the characters in them themselves. I think there are better options within the Night Court. I remember specifically a fairy I had more interactions with during the Chains of Domination campaign and the leveling up process than I had with Pelagos. Like the blue fairy that screams at some point. And yet, that's not picked, apparently. The steward that is supposed to be his grand architect that builds robots and stuff isn't picked. General Draven, I think, from Revendreth isn't an option either. Though that's kind of like my favorite character. So why? It doesn't make sense when you think about it that such a small character that very few people, I mean, very few, you understand, that only a percentage of the people just got to interact with at some point, that those the Kyrian players, is picked for the position of the Arbiter, which it doesn't make sense. Why would they go with that? Like, you would want, this is basically a Bolvar level sacrifice that's gonna happen. You can pretty much expect it. Or maybe it's not, maybe it's just, I don't know, just get to be yourself and be happy. But for that, we have the basis of Zoval, the jailer. He was an arbiter until he decided not to, and the other, I was about to call them Primarchs, okay. The leaders of each zone of Shadowlands just decided to lead him to the maw. And then they use his anima to create the arbiter that really got mana bombed at some point. So we can expect that an arbiter isn't really supposed to be this mechanical robot that works perfectly. Apparently it didn't work perfectly before, but we don't really have much indication to that or for that. And now here we are with a character that doesn't make that much sense. I think I spent more time with Clea, the other Kyrian, than I spent with Pelagos leveling up. I remember her more fondly. The only thing I know about Pelagos is that he's one of the Kyrians and he's blue. And apparently he's some sort of trans individual. Yeah, that doesn't really make much sense to me, but whatever. Now, the other option for Arbiter would have been Sylvanas, which there is a theory that Sylvanas might become the new Lich King because there's this reforging the Helm cinematic that's gonna happen at some point, and many people presume it's gonna be Sylvanas that does what Bolvar did. put the crown on the head and uh, just become the Lich Queen. Yeah. And yeah, I know I talk a lot about I want to see Sylvanas head on a pike in front of Stormwind. And I think many Night Elves really wish that. But it's so weird. The other option is Sylvanas and just not make her the Lich Queen and just put her as Arbiter. Which really would think fulfill some of her fantasies of free choice or whatever. Which might be the best way to end it, knowing how Steve Donser is really such a Sylvanas simp. But Pelagos doesn't. The more I think about it, the more it doesn't make sense. Like, there is no way he can be. At this point, I'm expecting this to be a red herring. Like, something they put there just to lie to us, and then, oh, it's a plot twist. There's something else. I mean, as long as we don't get a Brand the Broker moment, Brand the Broken moment, I'm gonna be happy. At least we avoid one bad ending for another. But it can't be that bad, like the Brand the Broken moment. Yeah. And we're gonna have to talk about this. There is no way we can't talk about the point in which, well, Pelagos is just picked for presentation reasons. To have an important character be transsexual, and yay, look how progressive we are as a company. But you know what? If Pelagos was a trans character and I had more time to interact with him, maybe I would have understood. But since things were just locked in the Kyrian Covenant, and I'm not really that willing to change covenants, or wasn't really, and won't really be for a long time, I see no reason to do that. Like, there are options for this. You could make the Primus. Probably sure. Then you leave Draka to lead to the Maldraxi. You could force each leader of their respective zones into one being that gets to decide, I guess, with different perspectives of each zone. But clearly that isn't any better than what the Arbiter was before, was it? It just makes little sense to me. There's not really a best option you could pick for Arbiter. There are options. God knows there are options. Even going with the Sylvanas moment, as much as I want her head on a pike, it's still an option. But Pelagos doesn't make sense. He's such a minor character. Just doesn't work. Most people don't even know him. And if you're gonna make a Bolvar sacrifice where you basically become changed by the thing you're gonna become, it should be some character that's important. At this point, they just picked a random character for the position of Arbiter. At least before, it made sense when the Arbiter was broken because it was part of Zoval, and the former Arbiter got mana bombed, but that's a different story. I expect a lot of people are just wondering who's Pelagos, and because if you're not really paying that close attention to the story to know more about him, I didn't pay attention to the Kyrian story, I didn't like the Kyrian, then you're not gonna know. They just picked a random character. At least Bolvar was there. He was in Stormwind. At some point, he played a part in this. From what I understand, Pelagos is just the little dog with a big heart kind of trope character that will never fall down or never sit down because he's just always there to fight. He'll take it to the next level. That's really about it. Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. And to exclude the fact that they just want to pander. Yeah, at this point, it's just pandering. But it's not even good. At least if they made a character good, somebody you interact more, you get to see more or stuff. And if you just play one covenant and don't switch, if he's somehow important, somehow like a messenger of Bastion that you have to help around the new zone stuff, that would be something. But he's just a minor character that in the end doesn't really matter. Like, I would rather have Bolivar become that. Screw it. Make Bolivar. That man already knows what sacrifices. Yeah, I'm just rambling at this point. Thanks for watching.